So we are now recording. So hello, everybody. I'm John Moss. I'm the president of the Southwest Native American Indian Chamber of Commerce. And we are recording this, and we will be posting it on my Cash Community Development YouTube channel, which I hope all of you will join, and as well as my Cash Community Development website under videos, and you can see past speakers and so forth, as we are all in support of not just, obviously our immediate need is Lawton area, Southwest chapter, and then from there all of Oklahoma, but also working all throughout the United States, and in a lot of cases like mine as well, internationally too. So that's part of the reason that we do that. So what we're going to be doing with the process today is we always start our meetings with an opening prayer, which the Honorable Brian Wall is going to provide us. And then from there, I'll speak just a brief introduction, and then like I'm doing now, but then we'll go to each person, and then if you can give a short presentation on yourself, your company, and what's your main wheelhouse, the main things you do, and then what's the best way, or who is your perfect referral. And I would recommend everybody, please put your information in the chat so we can all communicate together, and also later when others view this, they'll be able to see that too. So welcome again, and with that, Brian, if you'll open us up with a prayer, thank you so much, and we'll go from there. Thank you, Brian.
That's my pleasure to do so. Father God and Creator, we come to you today and thank you for all of the blessings that you provide for us. As we go throughout this meeting, we ask you to bless us for even further for clarity and communication, and the ability to speak together in harmonious tones, Lord. We thank you for this opportunity to meet together, even though it's virtually, and to support each other and lift each other up. And as we always ask, we want to ask for blessings and coverage and protection and mercy over our men and women who are in service around the world to protect our freedoms and our welfare, Lord. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. One quick moment. Tracy? Hey, Maria, I'm on my Zoom meeting for our Southwest chapter, but I'd really like to speak with Tracy later this afternoon if possible. Okay, so I've been invited up to speak with the Alaskan corporations, and they were asking me who else business-wise, and obviously knowing and being a member there as well, I recommended Tracy. So I want to go over some more details and make sure it's okay to share that information, and they'll pay all the hosting. Okay. The Alaskan Native Corporation Association. Okay, and it's going to be, I'm on a Zoom. I'll have to call you back. You'll call me later. Okay, thank you. Bye. Sorry, everybody. I've been invited to speak at up in Alaska, and can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure I hit the right button. So with that, I'm trying to get some other business network people that I know have positive track records. So that's what that call was about. I've been trying to reach this person forever. So, all right. So let's do a brief introduction of each person. Please tell us what chapter you're with. If you have a tribal affiliation, please let us know that. Again, all of the chamber is open to anyone that's like-minded, but being that it is a Native American preference organization. If you are, we want to, share that as well. And again, any member is welcome to attend any of the other chamber events, which I always highly recommend everybody participate in. Okay. And so with that, we'll just go person to person with a short, say 2-3 minutes, and then I'll have my presentation. Then we'll do some Q&A, and then I'll open the floor for any other questions, and that'll pretty much be it. Now, throughout, we may have other people joining us, and as I let them in, we'll move along from there. Okay, but again, please put your information in the chat. So I'm going to start with our early bird, Dave. Welcome, and if you can tell us about your company, organization, etc. Thank you so much. And
okay. Dave Baker. I'm with my HR professionals, or soon to be, everybody calls us my HR pros. So I think our branding is going to be switching to that before too long. But we do a lot of support for people. We believe that people are the most valuable asset in any organization because every other asset is managed by them. And so supporting the people in your office who kind of control a lot of that is a big portion of what we do. We have clients in 35 states, been in business for 27 years out of Van Buren, Arkansas. Have about 60 employees or so that, I'm a business development manager, member of the Choctaw Nation, and I'm a member of the Tulsa chapter. So I thought I would get on here since you are offering Zoom. I'm in Minnesota right now, so it's a little chillier than where you guys are. But we do a lot of payroll support, HR support, benefits admin, safety and risk management. It's really different for different industries, but very consultative in our approach. So Dave Baker with My HR Pros.
great, thank you. And I would like to ask all of you if you like Zoom, because what I'd like to be able to do is have Zoom and local. So if you guys afterwards can follow up with an email, and my information's in the chat, and just let us know exactly that. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be able to even talk about your company or corporation, I assume, if we weren't on Zoom, because you're in Minnesota right now. Is that correct,
Right.
Mr.
Yeah.
Baker? Yeah.
Right.
So
And
again,
the chances of me driving to Lawton are pretty slim as far as
yes.
headed all the way to the southwestern. I've gone as far as Oklahoma City and Dallas. Lawton, kind of, I don't know that I've ever actually been to Lawton in my whole life, and I grew up in Oklahoma. So,
well, there's some good barbecue here. So anytime you're wanting to come down, let me know. But all right. So Thank you very much for your introduction. And with that, we'll go to David Crawford. He was the next person on the Zoom. He joined by phone at first, and now he's on where we can see his logo. Okay. So David, take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is David Crawford, True Cleanse Distribution Incorporated, with the Tulsa chapter, Cherokee tribe, Native American veteran-owned small business in Hub Zone. And what I do, I'm a authorized distributor for different U.S. manufacturers making medical PPE. So I'd like to encourage everybody to get on the website, or not on my website, but on Google, and look up CNN. They did a story on nitrile gloves coming over and how unsanitary they are. So I work with a company that is organic compliant. I have fentanyl resistant gloves that I hand out to the police departments and stuff. N95s, N99s, surgical masks. Everything I have is all premium stuff, and it's competitive priced. It's trying to get away from everybody dependent upon overseas stuff. So if you are connected with anybody in the hospital, law enforcement, schools, so forth, send my information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with that, could you put that link that you mentioned in the chat so we all will have it? That would be great. So we can view that later.
Yep, I will.
Thank you very much, David. All right. So let's go to Brian.
Thanks again. I appreciate it. So you guys heard my voice earlier. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. My name is Brian Wall. I'm with Tatanka Creative, and we are based out of Oklahoma City. I am the president and CEO of the company, founded it. It said 2013, but for purposes of state, it was founded in 2011 with the state of Oklahoma. What we do is we bring to bear 35 years of experience in marketing and advertising, graphic design, copywriting, social media skills, etc., art direction. And our primary focus is helping tribes and tribally owned entities. We do things like logos, business cards, brochures, trade show exhibits, pop-up banners. If you need help with, I want to make a radio commercial, or I need a small scale video production that's going to just market your particular company or product or service that you have, then we can help with all that sort of stuff. Almost everybody's got a pinch point for their marketing, whether it's, I've got this idea for this website where I need to get this product that's back here, or I need to get a table throw. I don't know where to go. Just think of us as sort of your out-of-house, in-house marketing team. Our print prices are usually lower than what you can get yourself if you went out and did it online, which is kind of hard to believe. But you know, like you guys buying medical equipment, we get wholesale pricing. So if you know somebody that needs something like that, we're also veteran-owned small business as well. So thank you for your service. I appreciate it. Then let us know. We'll be glad to help you. And if we're not the best fit, then we'll try to point you in the right direction of somebody that will help you in the best way possible. So again, Brian Wall with Tatanka Creative.
Thank you very much, Brian. And just briefly, were you in the service?
I was in the U.S. Army.
Okay. Thank you very much to you and anyone else who's in the service. We're approved with the Military Collaborative. So I've been working and supporting that. That's partly why I moved out here from California to be right here next to Fort Sill military base. And for everyone that listens, can you please clarify what Tatanka means? I know what it means, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, when I was searching for a brand identity, I wanted to think about our native roots and how marketing should be approached. And that is a tip to tail sort of idea. Oftentimes that you make something in marketing and it gets used one time and then left on the side of the road like a carcass. And really what you should do is trying to reuse and repurpose, because, dollars it's hard to come by dollars. And so if you can have something in one area that works in another, then great. So Tatanka is the Lakota word for buffalo that was, taken from the movie Dances with Wolves. I looked it up in my own language and in several of your own languages, Cherokee, Choctaw, so forth. And the word for buffalo in a lot of those languages is very difficult to understand and pronounce, and as if Tatanka is not hard enough already. So anyway, it makes for a nice moment when I'm talking to folks and they say, "Oh, Tatanka, Kevin Costner." I'm like, "Yes, look it up. Yeah, we're partners."
Great. I just want to clarify. I think that's important.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much.
So a buffalo, like our ancestors, when they hunted buffalo, nothing went to waste. And so that was the link between your marketing and buffalo. So sorry about that.
No, that's what I got when you said head to tail, because it's full, all encompassing. And you're right, nothing was wasted at all and long lasting. And I would, if you don't mind, you were also former president of a chapter, so you understand the need to grow and develop. And so I welcome everyone, but can you share that briefly?
Yeah, sorry, I skipped over that. So yes, we're located in Oklahoma City. I'm a member of the Kaw Nation in northeast or north central Oklahoma, and a past president of the Oklahoma City chapter of the American Indian Chamber of Commerce.
Beautiful, thank you. And patiently, Jordan, if you would share, and hopefully we're still going to have more people join us. But go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm Jordan Caldwell, member of the Chickasaw Nation. I'm co-founder and CEO of Critical Fault. We're a Native American-owned cybersecurity company. Do everything from training to full-blown engagements where you have us come in, we pretend to be the bad guys and either physically break in or hack our way into your systems, and then afterwards tell you how we did it and give suggestions on how to patch any holes that we found. I'm part of the Oklahoma City chapter.
Anything else?
I mean, without getting into any intricacies, I mean, that's just kind of like the short intro to what we do.
And do you offer any type of cybersecurity certification?
We do not.
Okay, just wondering, because again, that's part of the realm of what we always are working to try and provide in any and all avenues, just like HR, marketing, etc. So, and again, if you can put your information, everyone, in the chat. Okay, so we're gonna move forward with my presentation, and anyone that joins, we'll just add them to everything. So please let me know that you're able to see what I'm going to open up here and still see me. Okay, can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, and I'm trying to make it larger because this, but the drop down is blocking it. So let me figure that out first real quick. I don't see it, but you guys can see it. So I'm going to just go ahead and start the presentation. All right. So my name again is, and everyone can hear me clearly. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And please do me a favor. If you have and yourselves favor, if you have a notebook, I'd really recommend taking some handwritten notes or in your laptop, whatever you might be able to do, because the reality is all of this information is very powerful, and it's really going to need to be like a shower under waterfall. I do provide courses and training and coaching on these proven 30-year, 5-year about methods, but I want everyone to go home with some action steps. So we're not going to just go through it and then you not be able to take something with you. Is that fair enough to everybody? You guys, can you unmute? Because I'm going to ask questions. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Unless there's noise in the background. So first question to everybody on the call. When you're doing presentations, your team's doing presentations, which again, I'm hoping out of this, you see the value add and see why it's important to work with, for me to be able to help support our tribes and businesses, small, medium, or large, and help grow them, and my networks. So what is the number one challenge or objection that you feel you get in your industry or your people get after you've understood what they're saying they want to do, you've put together a presentation, you've given them pricing, delivery time, etc., and now it's the close. What would everybody agree on or say is the number one challenge or objection? Is it pricing, term, whatever it might be? Each person, please share that. And let's start with Dave. What do you think the number one challenge or objection is that you or your team or staff face when you're at that point?
I think a lot of it is just time, being able to take the time out of what they're doing to implement some of the things which, we have an entire onboarding team that deals with that, but a big portion of it is just, I think they see the big picture, and they think they've got to implement everything all at once, and they're thinking they don't want to put that on their staff all at once. And so,
okay. So I'm just want to drill down so everyone knows what I mean more is, so to get started, our analysis is going to be X amount investment. From there, we can make adjustments if need be. And then they say, it sounds great, but I need to, or I'm concerned about, or whatever. What do you think that challenge might be? And that's okay if you have a dog. I have a little dog too. That sounds like a big dog. Dave? Does that change your answer a little bit?
I could barely hear you. I've got a dog barking in the background.
Okay, I'll come back. I'll come back.
All right.
So let's go to Brian. Brian, what would your response be after you or your team has presented whatever size package or anything, but to move the client forward? What's the number one challenge?
I'd actually say there's two, John, and one of them is a recognition of needs. We can point out lapses or gaps in their marketing, and that person may not necessarily recognize it. So that also could be that we're not reaching the decision maker that needs to be heard. So that would be one. And then the second, I would be, as I mentioned in my comments, would be cost and value. There's so many of my clients that say, well, we can just go print our own business card on VistaPrint and save money. But what they're not recognizing is that, they're spending an hour going through all of the steps to go, I don't want a t-shirt, I don't want a license plate, I don't want this bumper sticker. And you're using their stock imagery that then may show up on some undesirable competitors' marketing as well. So now you're getting convoluted. Your message is getting convoluted with theirs. So those would be the two for me.
Okay, so that really relates to you're really not able to get a close at that point. It still becomes a stall.
Correct.
Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go to Jordan.
I think our biggest issue that we'd run into would be that our services are proactive instead of reactive. And a lot of the pushback just comes to spending money before a problem has occurred and just realizing the benefits of what risks are really out there and how far prevention can go in preventing things like ransomware attacks.
Fair enough. So it then still comes down to they need more time or they can't make a decision at that point, but now thanks for your information, we'll let you know kind of thing. Is that fair?
Yeah, and then just making sure we are talking to the correct decision makers and getting them fully educated on their risks and the benefits of being proactive about it.
Okay, thank you, Jordan. And then we're going to go to David. And David, similar question. And so as well, I have partners and so forth that have and work with that similar product line so that we can try and bring solutions. And you're with the Chickasaw Nation?
No, I'm Cherokee.
Cherokee, right. It was the other gentleman. Okay. So what about for you when you and your team are presenting and sharing things, and what are the challenge in moving them forward at that point?
I think the end result is pricing. You know, just for an example, I have the top of the line surgical mask, and they're 15 cents a piece, made in the USA, premium quality. And somebody will say, cool, but I can get it for like 5 cents from China. And it's not as good a quality, but it's cheaper and they can get more. And so that's my biggest problem is that
The value preposition.
yeah, they China can underbid me, but they don't get that good a quality. So
Right.
that's my biggest step back there.
Okay. So let's just share and cut to the chase that I believe all of you would benefit then. Fair enough. I'm going to ask all of you to unmute and answer the question. If you're able to follow by the end of today's short presentation, methodologies that would help you have better, higher closing ratio by at least 20%, would that be a huge benefit to you and your corporations?
Sure.
Okay, because that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to show you all this information, and I will let everyone know my honored brother, and I mean physical brother, Stephen Moss, has joined us as well. And Stephen is an attorney out of Austin and also Indian court judge. And like myself, he's a member of the Caddo Indian Nation. So I'm just going into my presentation, Stephen. So did you want to share a little bit briefly about yourself or not yet? You have to unmute. His screen's frozen. Okay, there you are, Stephen. Hello, hello. You're muted if you want to unmute.
Yes, hello.
Hi. So did you want to tell us briefly a minute about yourself, your what your company does and how these other organizations can network with you?
Well, I'm an attorney in Austin, Texas. Years ago, I was the federal judge over all the American Indian courts through the Court of Indian Appeals and CFR Court of Indian Offenses in Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas in 1986 through 1988. Since that time, mediation, helping businesses and professional license holders, and a lot of construction employment law.
Okay,
So
thank you.
That's what I do.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. And we've asked everybody to please put their information if they're comfortable in the chat, and then that way we can all network. So I'm going to go ahead with my presentation to show you guys this. And again, this is a snippet of one of the normal presentations. And on my website, you can see the information that anybody is welcome to buy my book, follow the information, webinar, which includes coaching and so forth, and of course, networking with your companies. So what I normally cover here is increase in production by a minimum of 22%. Now, I don't want to use the word guarantee, but everyone I've worked with, no matter what industry, from print companies, marketing, medical, etc. I've always increased their business by at least 35%. So me saying 22 is easy out of this presentation. Then what we're going to normally always be doing is we're going to build immediate trust and rapport that will speed up your sales process, and along with that, stronger client relationships. Okay. Now this last section, I'll just show you a glance of, but normally I have set methodologies of overcoming challenges or objections. I call them challenges because if people are not interested in something, they're not going to ask you any questions anyway. If they're asking you a question, it's because they're daring you to overcome it and provide them that solution. So that's what I focus on, is what are the solutions, not what is your challenge or objection. Yet it's always important that you overcome the challenge or the objection, not an excuse. A lot of people just give excuses, but it's really not a true objection. So questions help you get that. So I'm going to go again with your notebook. I'm going to go through this really quick. So I'll slow up, obviously, when we get to the main meat of everything. So people, especially managers, spend 42 to 5% of their time listening, 31 to 31% talking, 15 to 16 reading, and 0 to 11 writing. Our school has failed to prepare us to be good listeners. Hearing and listening are not the same thing. Hearing is a physiological process that occurs naturally, right? And listening is a mental process. So those of us that have had kids or in management, you're hearing people tapping or lunch, and I say, if I were to provide you guys a free lunch today, you'd all be interested in that, wouldn't you? And you'd say, yeah, I'd like a free lunch. Well, what did you do? You're focused on listening, not hearing. So the reality is, hearing is a physiological, listening is a concentrated effort of, why are they telling me this? What does it mean? What is that? How's that going to help me? Okay. So in doing that, we use what is called benefits at a glance page, which I don't have time to go into today. But the idea is you write benefits of your company, corporation. What are questions that normally in the beginning presentation they're going to ask you that you know, or from your sales team or personnel you find out? Well, why should I work with you instead of some HR company? Why is your printing company better than such and such? What about PE? Why should I use your medical equipment instead of others? So these give you ideas, but the ideas is in the system that I'll show late in my normal. You use no less than 2, no more than 3. Otherwise, it's too much for them to think about. And then you need to put together a company story in your beginning presentation, which we're not going to cover today, but not a elevator pitch. This has built in what I call diffusers. Again, these are things they're normally going to ask that can distract from your presentation, because I'm sure a lot of you can relate. When you're doing a presentation and someone interrupts with a challenge or a question, then it interferes with the flow of what you were looking to go through and finish up. Okay. So this allows you to stay in control. Is everybody clear on all those points so far? Brian? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Does that all make sense to everybody? Anyone have any questions at this point? No? So again, just to mention the note taking, what I normally do in all my courses is I'll ask people to write in a notebook what I call a parking lot. And as I go through things, if you have a question or information, you want to know more about, put it in your parking lot. And when I get to a point that I feel it's okay to pause and ask, to this point, does anyone have any questions or a parking lot? Then no, that allows me to go through all the materials. But due to the short chamber timeline, I'm going to go through this quick. Now, this is the main meat. This is how you're going to get a higher closing ratio, production ratio, and not just on that, but in communicating with your staff and your team. All these are communication mastery. And again, this is why it's applicable in any industry, from law, so forth, is, asking questions allows you to stay in control. Okay. So first is pacing. That we're going to go over the 3 P's: pacing, paraphrasing, probing. So the first P is pacing. It has 3 components: the rhythm and speed in which you talk to someone and ask questions. Okay, everything has a rhythm. Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. I'm going to ask you a question, you're going to respond. And when you, especially if you're doing a lot of application type questions or qualifying questions, right? If you're following that rhythm, they get acclimated to just, I'll respond. And the answers come easier from your questions. And then speaking, how slowly or quickly do they speak? You don't want to do what some people will say, mirror them. No, you want to lean forward or have them lean forward into the call. So if I'm talking to someone from New York, I may have to pick up my normal speed, rhythm, and voice. Otherwise, in their head, quickly, they're going, God, this is taking too long. This is, you know what, I'm going to just ask the main questions I want to know. And then they jump in and interrupt you. Okay. Same as, when, let's say I'm working with my clients in California and we're talking to someone more with a Southern drawl, takes a little more time to get their information out. Then it becomes similarly where you're talking too fast and you'll hear things like, I'm sorry, what did you say? Can you say that again? Or they won't even respond. And that's simply because they didn't understand you and they're just trying to bide their time and go, well, I'll wait for a pricing and then I'll give them I need to think about it and then I'll move along. Okay. So don't do that. The other is voice fluctuation. You don't want to be monotone. Depending on the industry you're in, that can change in some cases. Like in the legal field, doing loan modifications or credit repair or some of those things in that arena, you want to be very a matter of fact and firm. And that's a little bit different in the verbiage, the variation that you may use in how loudly or softly. And when you are at the close, again, you can get a little quieter. And what do you think that's going to mean for you and your business bottom dollar? Well, I think that would be great because you're getting them excited or engaged. Use it to keep them involved and engaged. And remember, 17% is verbiage, 83% of what people say is tonality. So it's very important you control all of those components. Okay, so that's pacing. And the next, it flows like this to probing. Okay, so I'm having trouble finding, and I'll just use the mortgage as an example. I'm having trouble finding a broker that will let me get cash out for my home improvements that I can do myself because I'm self-employed. Now that can change to I'm having trouble finding a marketing if it's my budget. I'm having trouble finding an HR department that allows me to have some better controls. They're always overpriced because they think I'm larger than I am. I'm just a small business. Whatever it is, you want to paraphrase it back so you're proving to them you're listening. This is where you prove you're listening to them very early in your presentation. So in this case, you're saying, so what you're telling me is it would really make a difference for you if I can get you money so you can do your own home improvements, even though you're self-employed. Is that right, Michael? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking to do. Now you've proven to them they're listening. You're listening. You're getting their feedback. There's buy-in. Okay. And those are what I call yes receipts, because when someone says yes, they're bobbing their head up and down, going, yes, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay. So that's probing. I mean, that's paraphrasing. So does anybody have any questions on that? Does that make sense to everybody? Brian, David, Jordan?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Now, obviously, there's a lot deeper in all this, but in doing paraphrasing, sometimes people get their tongues tied, like your sales team, your employees, reception desk, whatever it might be. So when you're giving them those responses back, and especially some people that may not always have emotion responses built in, these help you become a little more bonding with your clients because now you show more empathy. So in this case, you might say, so Michael, you're kind of feeling, or you're sort of saying, or skip down more, you might say, it seems to you as if someone's taking advantage of you and they overpriced it and then they didn't deliver the marketing product you needed and wanted. Is that right? Yeah, that's what happened. Okay. So again, these help you get your tongue going, and there's a lot of them there. And then there are also what I call the transitional phrases here at the bottom. Transitional phrases, these are for people that tend to go off on tangents or want to tell you stories about things. Well, bringing up the importance of HR and getting together with people, I like to go fishing. Do you like fishing? And they start wanting to go into a tangent. You need to control your presentation. You might say, wow, that's really interesting. Let me ask you this, or remember, so going through that, or unbelievable, wow, I didn't know that. And then you would go into the remembering of, by the way. So, by the way, and then you go into another question and regain control. Okay. Sometimes, obviously, you need to let them a little bit, but when it gets out of control, that's how you regain it. Okay. Then we go into open-ended questions. These are probing questions, and it's almost like you learn in English, right? Who, what, when, where, why, and who. Okay. Asking open-ended questions, not closed-ended questions. Again, open-ended questions invoke conversation. Closed-ended questions are, and that does sound good to you, doesn't it? Those are yes or no. So those are closed-ended. So when most people ask questions, because it establishes the customer's want or need buyer. So you're trying to find out, does this customer really want this, or do they just need it? Do they want an HR department? Do they want better product and service of medical to best ensure their staff is taken care of and they don't get sick? Or cybersecurity, whatever it might be, that's where you go into that aspect. And these types of questions lead to what I call the gated close or rodeo close. That means, as David mentioned earlier on others, try and be always proactive, not reactive. Okay. So by asking the questions ahead of time, you know the challenge and it's easier to overcome that. Okay. So open-ended questions. Now, in doing that, okay, the most important is going to be your when question followed up with what. So the format you need to always use is this: who, whatever the product or service it is, Who primarily will be using the line of credit? What types of purchases will you be doing the most? How often do you anticipate using the line of credit? Or how long until it's paid? Right? And then when did you realize? So this could be used again. The whole idea is, when did you realize that you needed a better financial vehicle? Well, my wife and I have been trying to get our finances under control of the business. We just can't find a way. I'm going to have to reach out to do more marketing, social media. I need help in that. And then you're probing a little more, right? And then you'd say, well, what steps have you taken to achieve that? And what happened? Well, we tried using this kind of marketing. We tried going on Twitter. We tried doing Facebook, but now unless you pay for an ad, they don't really help get it out there. Whatever it might be, you're making for, detailed notes. Okay. So the whole idea is using their words on who will the primary use it. Why is this important to your company? How is that going to benefit you? Whatever it might be. Legal services, same thing. What is the end result you're actually looking for, other than get it more emotional? So now they saying, what have you tried? Well, I hired this other guy. He didn't know what he was doing. It ended up costing me more money. On and on. You get all that out proactively. Now, when you fast forward to later, after you've presented your product, your services, your pricing, or whatever your starting point is, okay, at the close, they say, Brian, gosh, that sounds great, but you know what? I really need to think about it, or I need to talk to my attorney, or I need to go over this with my wife. I don't make a decision without presenting it with my CPA. Whatever that is, those are typically what? Third baseman, right? Now, if you've done, meaning another party that's not involved and they're trying to give you the brush off. But if you follow this system, the rodeo close means that now they have nowhere to go, except I'm not on time to go into all the details of explain why. But the reality is, when you read it back, then you say, I'm a little confused. And now you go over that and explain why you're confused. So here's what it is. The first, and you want all your sales reps, phone people, whoever it is, in their private notes, they would write, does the person talk slow, medium, or fast? Then you would make just an S, an M, or an F. What words are they using that are power words? They keep using, gosh, if I could get a better marketing, that would be awesome. That's incredible. You guys can do that. You're writing beautiful and awesome down. Then whatever it might be that they tend to bring up as part of their excitable verbiage. Then the next is what? The purpose. What are they trying to accomplish? What are they looking to do? And you would obviously paraphrase that back to them. Then you would probe and you would ask them, when did you realize? What's that? All of the probing questions: who, what, when, where, why, and how, right? And when did you realize your credit cards and finances were getting out of control in your company? How is it you're trying to control the 8 divisions that you have within your HR department? Does each person have their own budget that they have to manage and maintain? How is that handled? How do you better maintain that? When did you realize that? And then you'd go to, and what steps have you taken to eliminate that on your own? So does everybody understand that to that point? Because that is why at the end of a close, I call it the rodeo close, right? Because when you close and you presented everything, you've done all your questions, you've shared the value add proposition, and now when you go for the close, they're going to pause typically 10, 15 seconds. But if you can overcome it by using your rodeo answers and then they pause again, like a rodeo, 10 seconds, you're a winner because then they're moving forward. They're realizing, look, I'm just procrastinating. You're right. I've tried this. We've tried that. I've talked to the CPA. I'm at my wit's end. Or, yes, I can get it lower product out of China. But then if my people are sick, that extra dollar that I'm saving, or 10 cents, as you mentioned on the mask, 10-cent price difference, what does that really equal in times of people being out of work and then work production going down, you having to bring in someone through HR departments and pay a little bit more because they're not a full-time employee, et cetera. So you have to present and understand from the probing questions how you overcame all that prior to your close. So now when you present, they pause for that moment, and 10 seconds later, they normally respond, that sounds great, Dave. What would be the next step? How would we move forward? How do we get started? Right? So as an example, in cybersecurity, they might say, well, now we just need to do an analysis, find out where you might have some gaps, and let's work to try and fill those. Our initial investment for an analysis is yada, yada, yada. But now you're moving forward. Your foot is in the door. That is the rodeo close. Now, by your people writing these notes, if it doesn't close and or they get stuck and they need to go to management, now you can glance at the notes and know exactly how you come in. Do you talk slow? Do you talk medium? Do you talk fast? So you have an immediate connection with that person you've never spoken to before. Now it would go something like, so Dave, I understand from talking to Carol, you're looking to pay off about 25,000 in credit cards that you're paying a 19% interest on, and your $525 is ideally where you'd like to have, and you want to have some home improvements for 35,000. Or did I miss something that she shared? No, that's what I'm looking to do. And I'm confused because her notes say that you've thought about this for 2 years and you and your company haven't been able to get your budget under control. And now with the extra costs of what's going on in the world, you are starting to spin out of control. Did she make those notes right, or is there something else that we missed? No, that's what's going on. And you were sharing that the solution, if we can show you X, then that would equal X. And that's really what you've been looking to do, right? Yes. Great. Well, looks like we've got the solution. So here's what we need to move forward. And then you move right into your calls again. And they'll normally move with you. But if you don't follow the steps, that won't happen. And when they follow up by you having these notes, it saves a lot of time and miscommunication of, well, what were they trying to get? What do they need to do? What were their challenges? It's all right here. If you get everybody following this and mapping, you'll have a higher closing ratio. Does anybody have any questions up to this point on the rodeo close? Because, well, let me ask you all this. If your whole team did that on all their files and information that didn't move forward, would we all agree you'd have a better opportunity to help them close? I can't hear you guys.
Yeah, I think that would help out.
Absolutely. And if they're saying it in their own words, it's not a lie because it's what they told you, right? You're just calling their bluff. So if you do that, when did you realize and what steps have you taken? Would you agree you could close more services now instead of letting them go talk to someone else and then you got to talk to someone else? So who agrees that if you did that every single time, you would close at least 20% more of your presentations in whatever that be next beginning step is? Is that a fair question? And what would your answers be, Dave? Dave, would you say that you would be able to do that to at least 20% more?
Yeah, I think a lot of ours, the clients have stated a lot of this, and some of these, when I worked at Verizon, these were similar processes that were taught. I was lucky to have had a lot of, I was with 12 years at Verizon. So, when you're dealing with cell phones, there's a lot of different things. So yes, taking that, we were able to double our numbers at one of the busiest stores when I was there with similar processes. So yes, I would say 20% would be a good increase, if not more.
And thank you for that, because I did consulting in the beginning days of Verizon for them and other call centers. A lot of my background has been call centers, data centers, all over the world, 2,000 station call centers, banking background. Again, that's what the book I wrote, The Millionaire Loan Officer. I'm the only mortgage trainer in the entire United States with a letter of recommendation on ethics and non-predatory lending. That means they went through all my materials, all the verbiage, and made sure that it's client approved. And then I'm the only ones that the Attorney Justice or Steve, whatever the word is, Attorney General of California and others signed off on, and other states with the largest banking associations as ethical and non-predatory lending ever in the United States. And all that information's on my website. Now, like a lot of our native brothers and sisters, I was told, learn what you can and try and bring it back to our nations. Well, that's why I'm here in Lawton, Oklahoma, Caddo Nations and Binger, Oklahoma, and I'm trying to help everywhere. So, all right. So, Brian, is that a fair statement? 20%?
I'm not necessarily going to agree with you on the 20% because I think that this would be effective for me. I don't necessarily know that it would be effective to 20%. And I say that, and you know this because of your background as well, is that what my services that I offer are always considered to be, they're not obligatory. I don't have to do this. I could do this if I want to. And it's an area where everybody, right or wrong, thinks they can do it themselves. They know how to do it. They don't need your help. And so it's hard to overcome some of those objections, but I have no doubt that the system works. I just don't know to what degree it would work for me.
Fair enough. And I will share with you, we can follow up, and that all goes to probing questions, because in being proactive and finding that out, the realization is that when you are following this flow and uncovering, they still have a goal and a want, right? So they want buyer and need buyer. If they're a want buyer, your goal is then to share enough positive value add information that they become, you know what, you're right. I need to do this. I need to have results. And if I'm going to spend money, my time is worth X, Y, and Z. So you can look at one of the renowned sales trainers as well, Zig Ziglar. He always says, don't farm anything else that's below your pay grade. So when these people are doing things or saying they can do it on their own, and it's not their expertise, is that really it? That's why when people say that, I say, oh, so are you saying you can, we're attorneys, right? People think, oh, I can do this on my own. Oh, really? So when you want a professional, go to a professional and get professional results. So anyway, that's all of that. Time-wise, I just have to move forward. So in my further training, the idea is there's really mapping, social mapping. So there's four main areas that people are within. They're talk or expressive, which means you're going to be more of a soft sale, mid management, retired. There's pace or amiable, where they're shy, they're friendly, they're more of a soft sell, so to speak, housewives, construction people, blue collar, again, in whatever types of industries or things they've done. And then you have your doer driver. This is time-oriented person. They're the boss, doctor, business owner, attorney. Just get to the facts. What is it? Bottom line, right? And then you have your controller analytical, who are going to look more at, that sounds great, like your cybersecurity, right? They're going to look more at the numbers. What is it going to cost? My concern is if I don't have a problem yet, why would I put money out of my pocket? Well, you need to show the future value add in case you have something that happens and you're hacked or issues happen. And then you want to reflect on news articles, things that proactively along the way, you've been bringing that to the forefront. Okay. So those mindsets, and then in my main objection handling, you're looking at all these tools and many more that I cover so that you have a library of reference. If and again, you use one, go to the other. You always use what I call the identifier. That helps you uncover, is it really a challenge or objection, or is it just an excuse? I understand cost is important to you, but isn't your ultimate goal that you want to think blank, blank, blank? Well, yeah, it is, but I'm really concerned about, and then they'll tell you what the objection is, or they're going to say, look, aren't you listening? I just want to know, what is the bottom line? What's your best price? I've got two other offers. I'm trying to compare it so I can go over this with my management team. I just tell me that. Now that's a doer, right? Or analytical. So you might use an FBBT, fact, bridge, benefit, tie down. The fact is, I understand price is important to you and so forth. And you go into those flows. And there's many different ways to word these. But ideally, when you understand that, then we go through a recipe, right, that you can use in any industry, and then what it might look in your industry. So with that, that is where we're going to have to close out. And does anybody have any questions on anything I've covered this far that I can answer for anybody?
No, great information. Thanks for taking the time to share with us today.
Well,
I second that.
Thank you very much. And thanks for putting your information in there. But I just want to share that our Southwest chapter meetings and any chamber meetings are designed that we're able to get more exposure to people in other industries near us and around us that we can meet with. And even, not everyone who registered for today showed up, but we've got HR, we've got medical, we've got legal, we've got marketing. All of these are key and very important. So again, look forward to following up with all of you. And we are looking for ongoing meetings, and we hope you'll join us. We are going to be doing more live now that Lawton's started to open up and allowing us to get together in a building. And so we had a lot of challenges down here with that for 2 years. So the next meeting in May will be towards the end of the month, and we'll be live, but I am going to do, as long as Bailey allows me with the blessing and everybody, to do Zoom and live. Otherwise, like Dave, you're in Minnesota, you couldn't have attended. And even when you're in, 3-hour drive difference, Brian, you're up there, right? So it's too far away, and Steven's in Austin, right? But at least here we're able to share some information. So thank you for everybody's time. And if there's no more questions, then I would recommend you can go to the chat, and there's 3 little dots on the right side of the chat. You click on that, right? And you'll see save chat. You click save chat, and you'll have everyone's information that put it into the chat. Okay? So when we close out the meeting, it'll automatically ask you, it'll pop up on your screen and ask you, do you want to save the chat or what? But that's how you always save the Zoom chat of any information people have put in there that you guys can negotiate and move forward with. Okay? And again, we will be posting the recording, as I mentioned, on my Cash Community Development. And I should mention, Cash Community Development stands for CADO, Assets, Services, Help, Community Development. That's the legal framing that we were told to best serve grants, funds, financing that we do. We just spoke at the United Nations via Zoom yesterday, and April 21st, we presented at the United Nations regarding all the needs, and that you can actually see we presented the Indigenous Peoples Plan. It's in writing on my website for Cash Community, which is at the top, and I really recommend you can all go there. And we also have free resource pages that people can go. And of course, we'd love all of you to be a sponsor of our nonprofit and our works. Okay? So feel free to follow up with me anytime. And thank you for everybody joining. Have a great day. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
You're welcome.